I met Josh through Aaron, actually, because those two had been friends since, what, high school? Younger?
I mean,
middle school, I think. I think we originally met through church.
Well, I say, yeah, we knew each other at church. I mean, since kindergarten,
Yes,
for
yes,
sure. 'Cause,
yes.
well, you went to school with me in kindergarten, then left. Like, I don't know, man. You just left.
I left. I just
You packed your bags and went
I
on the
just
journey.
Yeah,
Thought you were Bilbo Baggins.
thought he was spot the height.
Okay, so let me try this again. Oh, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for helping out with that.
Welcome.
So we're doing a different method of doing things this week. Somehow my power cord went MIA, so I'm having to use Mr. Johnson's
Little mixer audio thing.
interface to actually get audio into the recording. And you know, Aaron, we had a good month last month.
We did.
We had a very good month in October.
Yeah.
But then something happened. Something horrible has happened. Josh, say hello. Josh is back for this one.
I knew exactly where you were going with that.
I did not. I was curious. I don't know how I didn't know that.
Something horrible has happened. I looked up at Aaron and I just gave him that blank stare, and he's just like, "What is he talking about?" I'm like, "Really, Johnson? Really?"
Yes, really. The reality is, because Josh apparently heard us talk about politics. He's like, I have to be back now for this because I need to talk about this. Right? Josh? Yes?
Yeah, at the same time, I haven't. It's been 2 months.
He already misses
So-
it.
I do miss it. But at the same time, it's also nice just sitting there and don't have to observe a Saturday. So there's pros and cons to
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
But
Yeah. So I will say this. Thank you for everyone who has downloaded in October. Today's the last day of October, and we're sitting at 2,700 downloads.
Wow.
just for October alone or total?
Just for October
Just for
alone,
October.
2.7K.
Wow. Y'all people are crazy.
27,000.
No, 2.7. Not 27.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2.7 people have downloaded this.
Yes. 2.7 people. You know, that 0.7 of a person is Aaron after he's drunk. So.
Yeah.
It might be if you all of a sudden hear Aaron go away during the middle of this episode, it's because he drank something questionable right before we started recording.
That's what I do best.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
So he had this like strawberry like cream, and I pulled it out, and he's like, "What one is that one?" I said, "It's the strawberry," and he goes, "You might want to test that before you drink that." And I'm thinking to myself, why would it still be in the fridge if you had that mindset? And he just goes ahead and pours himself a cup, and he just starts drinking away.
Yes.
And he goes, I think it's
You know?
I think it's supposed to taste like that.
I mean, it is.
I just called it chunky Nestle Quick.
Ooh, chunky Nestle Quick.
Yeah,
It's
what?
it's something like that.
It's
It makes me think of Pepto-Bismol,
okay. Fair enough.
Ah, yes, I can see that.
but it tastes good though.
Does it taste
tastes
good?
better than Pepto-Bismol.
Oh, well, wait. I've never drank Pepto-Bismol before.
Really?
No, I've never had that.
What?
What?
I've never had Pepto. Or Pet, however you say it. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
I've
Actually,
never had
How
that
did you
before.
never
I don't
get that?
think.
It's
Not that I remember.
you-
I know it's pink.
you never
Yeah.
had a stomach kick as a kid. Your mom goes, "Oh, here's some Pepto Bismol,"
Oh,
or did she
no.
only give you the kaopectate?
The what? What? The what?
It's a diet medicine that you can use if you have an upset stomach. Kaopectate. It works a lot better, in my opinion, than Pepto Bismol, but it doesn't always taste the best.
I have not heard of that one. You know what?
Okay, just
You guys talk for a second here.
you're gonna drink some chunky
Chunky
strawberry.
Yeah, that. Now I need a question that needs to be answered now. So
What's
doodle
the
on.
question that you need?
He's got to verify if
I want
he's
to ask
ever
my
had.
mom if I've ever had Pepto.
Live fact checking.
Yeah.
Live fact. All right.
All right. Anyways, so
I
while
can-
Aaron is off checking if he ever drank something as a kid, his poor mother.
It's gonna be forced to go back in time and try to remember.
Yeah. So
Yes.
this episode here, Mr. Brewer,
Mhm.
just so you know, I'm planning on releasing this one. So this way you can get all of your wonderful political opinions out in the wind. This is Monday before Election Day, the day before election. is when this one will go out. Next. So we got Trump versus Biden.
Well, we also got Joe Jorgensen too, but that's
Sure.
that's that's proper response for that is sure.
To be fair, we do have a third party out there, but the reality of the fact is, at this point in how American culture and society is, the chances of that happening are close to zero.
But if anything, people who might not want to vote for either candidate can choose to vote for her as an alternative, just so they can say they voted, but they didn't have to vote for two people they didn't like, which also can help possibly shine a light on some truth going forward in the future. Even if that person like maybe only secures 20% of the vote, it still is something that shows, hey, if it's more than last year, okay, there's a trend going on in the nation.
If they secure 20% of the vote and Trump wins, there's going to be riots in the street on the fact that Joe Jorgensen caused Trump to enter the White House for another 4 years.
Well, at this point, I'm willing to bet there's going to be some sort of social unrest no matter who wins.
Well, so I know Walmart has already reversed course on this. But yesterday, Walmart announced that they're going to remove all their guns and ammo from display because they were afraid of all the rioting that was going to take place around the election, and they didn't want them to be looted and then
I didn't realize Walmart
stolen.
still sold guns
And ammo. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Because I remember
not all of them, obviously.
Was it like early this year or was it like last year that they were like because of some gun violent issue that happened? Oh no, I think it was the shooting that happened right outside Walmart.
Yeah.
And I think
so
they
they still sell it, but they were just being a little more restrictive on like locking it up and everything.
Okay.
But you know what we've seen over this past year with COVID and everything else, we've seen all these protests and all this looting. Things have been just stolen essentially.
Yeah.
So yesterday, Friday the 30th, they had announced that they were going to, due to potential unrest due to the elections, they're going to remove all their guns and all that from display. And then some people complained about it, and so they reversed course late Friday and said, no, we're going to return the guns and that back to display. And part of me goes, maybe it would have been prudent until a week or two after elections to hide them. And now we're going to have this.
I just love how companies are so easily swayed.
Well, of course.
So
Come on. And right now, ammo is a big seller.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Just, it's some places, because, some people I follow, they're like, they're on a waiting list to get ammo.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. I have some classmates that they can't even get 40 Smith & Wesson. They just can't. One guy was able to pick up about a month ago. He was able to pick up some 45. I'm not sure exactly how he had an issue getting 45 because usually 45 and 9mm for handguns is pretty common. So if it's a certain brand or what, but he was able to scoop up 500 rounds right before the store sold out. So, but yeah, no, it's and it's interesting because if you go to pre-COVID, right before it started to happen and everybody was buying stuff, and you talk to some of the gun owners of these stores, they'd tell you that, it's not one political belief coming in. Anybody with any sort of political belief was coming in because I felt like it was going to end. They were freaking out. So who was I talking to? I can't remember who I was talking to, but he was talking about how he'd have so many people come in one day that have never held a handgun before. So he'd almost have to teach them how to hold the handgun just so they can understand how to buy a gun.
Yeah. On that regard, I know someone who offers private handgun training and private concealed carry classes.
Oh, wow.
And he said he has never been busier.
Oh, I bet.
And I know where he lives as well, like in the city that he lives. He's like, yeah, there's no mask here, even though it's mandated all over Wisconsin. It's like, there's no mask here. I'm like, I need to move where you're at, sir.
Right?
For real, though.
What was it? On our way out to Door County. Was it Door County?
Yeah, we did go to Door County.
On our way out to Door County.
Yeah, if it was on your date with Aaron, yes, Door County.
We weren't that far away. I can't remember if it was by Door County or if it was just outside of Milwaukee, but we're sitting there, we pull over to get gas, and Nope, it was on our way out there because we were trying to avoid a storm, and it was we were
Yeah.
probably just past Milwaukee, and we pulled over, and I was
a little ways.
Okay, so yeah.
anyways, it was
But
past Milwaukee.
and you said Door County, right? So that was right when the mandatory mask mandate went into effect across Wisconsin.
Yes, but we were in this small little town at this gas station, and nobody had masks on.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there looking at each other like, so what happens if a cop comes by? Does he ticket everybody, or does he not ticket anybody because there's too many people that aren't wearing the mask? But at the same time, what was interesting too is back when I was working for the dealership, we actually had I was a part of a fleet center, and we dealt with the Kenosha police. And the Kenosha police were told during the main time of the pandemic to not pull people over unless they had to, not to confront people unless they had to, because even the police department was under equipped with masks and gloves and cleaning supplies. So the only time they would pull you over is if you were threatening someone else's life. So we actually asked the officer. So we said, so if somebody's going 50 over on 31, would you pull them over? He go, I can't tell you. So right then and there, we knew how bad the situation was if you could get away doing that. But
okay, so let me because mask wearing and pandemicing is all crazy right now. Like, I don't know if you noticed, over in Michigan, they are now requiring when you go to a restaurant for you to give your name and your phone number and your address and all that. So that way, if someone gets sick at a restaurant, they can then go back and trace back who you are and everything. But in order for you to eat at a restaurant, you now have to give all that information. So it's interesting watching the people. Some people are like, yeah, I'll give it willingly, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And other people are like, yeah, I want to know where this data is going. What database is it going into? It's like, yeah, there's that too. It's interesting.
I don't like that.
Why don't you like it?
Give my address to everybody. If I go out to eat, I want to give my address to all those people.
Yeah,
I don't want to get stalked.
Well, especially you, Mr. 100% tipper. They'll
Oh,
stalk you.
Hey, maybe that's a good thing then, because then maybe I won't tip as much anymore. You know what? Maybe I'm not too against that.
But then you under tip.
And then they get pissed off, and then they come from my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't like it.
So
that's weird.
So you got stuff like that going, all around right now. The stuff going on in Paris right now is ridiculous as well, because they're going back under mandatory lockdowns again.
Oh no!
And if they
That
want to leave
sucks.
the house, they have to have paperwork proving that they have permission from the government to leave the house.
So are they? How? I mean, I guess you can stop anyone that's out and about and question them.
Yeah, like they're doing ridiculous, enforcement of that. And so the day before the lockdown enforcement went into effect, it was essentially gridlock in Paris as people were trying to get out of the city.
Jeez, we
And-
actually
And then they were also saying like all the stores, all the shelves were wiped clean of people
Oh,
who
my
realized they weren't
gosh.
able to get out, and they were going to have to wait out that month.
if you guys haven't yet, I would suggest making a grocery store stop.
Oh, I know. People are reporting toilet tissue
Being gone again.
is being gone again.
Yep. So Amy, the enforcer, spun by Sam's Club last night and scooped up some before. So we have enough to last us through winter and into February. So
yeah, that's already being reported over on the East Coast that shelves are bare of toilet paper again.
I also told her to pick up some soup too, because that's the easiest way to keep
Yeah,
yourself fed.
just have some stuff, and it comes down to it. You catch the mice and the rabbits and the deer around your place, and you make some wild meat stew.
That's true. That's true.
You could use all the apples from my mom's backyard to bait all the deer.
Although, to be honest, I don't know how I would really get deer in my corner, because the deer would have to enter from 3 Mile. So they have to go over the road, because I got a fence
Yeah,
on my east side and south side.
I always see deer like leaving from over by the airport.
Huh.
So I think you'll be fine. If
Yeah.
anything, just go in my mom's backyard. There's deer there every once in a while.
I'll just put a deer stand.
Yeah, you do that, and the trees will be non-existent soon.
We don't know how soon this lockdown is going to hit.
Yeah. So
I really hope they.
yeah. So Mr. Brewer, and
Yes.
you can decline on this one. You can decline.
I accept.
He doesn't even know I'm going to ask him.
This. All right.
What do I have to answer now?
You are thrown into a voting booth today. Who are you voting for?
Oh, that's so.
Wait,
easy.
didn't you ask him this question? Ah,
Since you're here now, I know.
Wait, did I say? Yeah, I said.
Who would I vote for right now?
Yeah.
Right now.
Obviously, when we're recording this is only a few days before election, and this will be released on Monday, the day before election. So,
Oof.
I will probably go in and vote early just so I don't have to stand in these long, lengthy
Well, you
lines.
have to do it Monday. And
Yeah.
how many people do you think are going to vote early?
I'm willing to suspect that there are more lazy people out there than we think.
I'm sure of that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
So I'm sure there'll be.
So who if you were magically transported like Star Trek
Me or
into
Paul?
a
Who is
booth
it?
right now, given your pen or pencil and your voting paper, who would you pick?
Who are you voting for, Josh?
Not between me and Aaron. No.
Kanye West.
Yeah.
No.
Technically, that is a valid choice.
Yeah, it is. That is.
It's a valid write-in choice. It's not a
Yeah,
valid.
it's not a-
He's not on the Wisconsin ballot. He tried on many levels to get, but the
ballot.
Wisconsin Supreme Court eventually said, no, you may not get on the Wisconsin ballot. So I think you actually clipped the audio there, Aaron, when you yelled.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It's because I don't have the auto clipper
Yeah,
soft,
set.
for
yeah,
my
with your
normal board.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I'm not asking for all the positions. Like, I'm just asking like
I mean,
presidential.
there's still more things I have to look at. Like, for example, I still have to understand more of Joe Jorgensen's positions on
Jorgensen,
things.
okay. I forgot about that.
Let me say this before I tell you who.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure some people are go, oh, I know who he's going to vote for.
Yeah,
I may
do.
not. I've actually had recent thought changes based on people that I've talked to and knowing who they voted for based on certain thought changes. So I'm gonna approach this, and this is why we're having this conversation now.
Yeah.
Is because despite who's gonna win, this is a neutral conversation. There is no emotion. There is no because
There's
let's face it,
in this.
a lot of us are gonna be upset, even mildly upset, when we find out who wins. And we don't know who's going to win. And we don't know what type of scandal is going to happen in the next 6 months after whoever wins. But as Americans, you cannot be pissed at somebody for voting for someone. Okay? You can be pissed at somebody for being 100% closed-minded, but you can't be pissed at somebody for voting for someone.
Right. I agree.
Because, and this is for those who are questioning, continuing to listen, because we are told that we have to make a vote based off of information that is nothing but skewed, false, half-truths, propaganda, acting. Because let's face it, when those guys are up on stage, they're doing nothing but acting. And it's been proven, even by check them out. There's an FBI agent that used to catch spies. He's on YouTube, and he was talking about it. And I'll probably briefly touch that later. But how I tell people is, if I'm going to vote for somebody, I want everything in print, okay? No matter who's got more history or what. If anybody is in a political spot or if anybody has voted for something, okay? I want to see everything that Joe Biden has supported, voted for, voted against. I want to see his history because his history will ultimately help craft his future because his perspective, meaning he's been in the field for what? Over 30 years as a politician?
Over 40.
Over 40 years as a politician.
Yeah, he's an old man.
So he's got a lot of history under his belt. So where has his history solidified? And then you got Trump, who's only been for 4 years, but who has Trump lobbied with? Who has he endorsed in the past? You know, I want to see everything in paper. That's how I want to make my decision. But that's not how us Americans are able to make our decisions because that's not how they want us to make the decision. They want us to go off of an emotional response. And that's one of the reasons why I feel they want us to vote early is so that if we're more pro a certain candidate, if they're able to say something to get us emotionally rattled up, they say, go in and vote early. We go in emotionally rattled up, voting for that person and not voting logically. So at this point in time, this is based on me having to do more research. This is based on me having to watch more videos and stuff. At this point in time, I would say I would be pro-Trump.
Okay.
But that is due to change. I can easily swing Biden or Joe Jorgensen. And I do know some people have voted Joe Jorgensen just because they will not vote for two of the people that are there, but they will vote for a third party just because they want to help make the statement that two parties is not a good thing in this nation anymore. Because they both are doing the exact same thing. They both bounce off each other doing the exact same thing. And it's just at this point a reality TV show, and we need to get another party in there to help bring them back from this high mantle that these two parties have placed themselves on. But yes, so that's me answering that question. Do you have another question?
Wait, who did I say I was voting for?
Oh, my God.
I'm just...
To be honest, I don't remember.
I can't facepalm hard enough right now.
I don't know why I asked that.
Okay, Johnson, who would you vote for if you had to pull the
Kanye
lever
West.
today?
Heck, he's
Okay.
gonna bring music into the presidency. Help out musicians. Don't you think so?
You shouldn't be allowed to vote. And I don't say that lightly.
Oh no!
I'm kidding, kidding. But
yeah.
I hope you're kidding about Kanye West.
Dude, he had a 3-hour episode with Joe Rogan that I've heard is really interesting, but I have not watched.
Joe
it for
Rogan
myself
has
yet.
had a lot of interesting people on.
Oh no, I know that for sure.
So-
but I guess this is
But
coworker was telling me about it. Yeah.
Regardless of fact, I interesting. I know. I think the only statement that caught me off guard there from Brewer was his last statement
Yeah, same.
that he makes Swing Joe.
Or Joe.
It all
Joe
depends
Rogan.
on what I dig up in the next 2 days or so, if I so choose to. If I feel comfortable enough on the person that I'm voting for on Monday, I will vote for that person.
That's only
Um,
2 days away.
Yeah, exactly. So it all
The day
depends.
that this releases.
But at
Yeah.
this point in time, because we're not recording this on Monday, this is being published on
Yeah.
Monday. For those of you who don't know, this is Saturday that we're recording. It all depends. It all depends. And like I said, nobody can be mad at me. I can't be mad at anybody. If I end up
Yeah.
voting for Trump and somebody votes for Joe Biden, I know
It just-
personal people who voted for Joe Biden already, and at this point in time, I can't be mad at them because, like I said,
No.
they're basing their vote on everything they've been given, all the information they've been given.
No, and I agree with that. It boggles my mind that you would say that, even say that statement after I got to be on stage with Mr. Trump.
I remember that.
I don't remember that. What is this?
You didn't.
Oh, me. Yes.
Yeah, you.
Me. You know what? The first thing people asked me when I got back to work.
Does he have tiny hands?
No.
Yes.
Oh, it was tiny?
Yeah.
Oh.
Did he have tiny hands?
Oh, that
How
was my
orange is
question.
he? Is he really orange? That were the first two questions people asked me when I got back. to
That's
work.
hilarious.
By the way, I'll just interject this. If you haven't yet watched it, I know Aaron has. I don't know if you watched it. Epic Rap Battles of History,
Oh my-
Biden versus Trump. If you have not watched that
That
yet,
was good.
please go watch it because it is entertaining.
It was
geez.
funny.
And they make fun of Trump's tiny hands in there.
They do.
And they make
Yes.
fun of Joe Biden
Wait.
sniffing children.
Was that in the Biden one or was that the Hillary one where he makes fun of his hands for stop and frisk or whatever?
Maybe I'm getting them
That
confused.
might, watch both of them. Why
Yeah.
not? Enjoy. Have fun.
But so something else you brought up, voting early, because there have been people who have been voting early for a while now.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if you watched the second presidential debate at all.
I did. That's the one I watched.
Okay. I watched both.
I watched the first one.
I watched both. Of course, I watched them both with Crowder as the filter between.
Oh,
And
boy.
so that was entertaining and that was great. But anyways, the thing I that was interesting is after the second debate was that one of the number one search terms across like Pennsylvania and the Midwest was, can I change my early vote? And and to be fair, that could go either way. That can swing either way. But a lot of the pundits in that are saying, yeah, probably a lot of these people who are looking to change their vote might have voted for Biden. And then in the second debate, when he's like, yeah, I want to find, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, I'm not doing a Biden here.
Yeah.
But where he was talking about how he does want to eventually get away from fossil fuels. And Trump was like, that's a big statement. That's a big statement. Moderator goes, why would you do that? I don't know if you remember that or not.
Say it one more time.
Like Trump asks essentially like, would you get rid of fossil fuels and fracking and that? And Biden's like, yeah, we're going to move away from that. Trump goes, that's a big statement. And the moderator goes, why would you say that? Or why would you do that? It was just a great moment of the debate. If you haven't seen it, go find it. But Trump started playing that in his ads, and then they saw this big uptick. How can I change my vote?
Wow. Really? Well, see, okay, so I'm going to try to keep this concise because I have,
Oh, this will be entertaining.
ever since I've been going to school, I've been blessed to have a teacher who has unbelievable memory. And he's gone back to college to get more and more minors in all sorts of stuff. He
Okay.
originally went in for political science, specifically talking about conflict. And he's gone back for, I mean, if you want to know the chemical compounds of a certain chemical, you can ask the guy and he would tell you. Like his brain is just that abstract. And he has brought some realization and some truth to some of the political, I shouldn't say political. I should say these clouds of ununderstood things that are trying to happen in society. Like,
Okay.
like you have trying to get rid of from fossil fuels. Okay. Or making your way towards hybrids and stuff like that. Or, all the ice melting is going to raise the sea level 10 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you this, people. Okay.
Nope.
If there's ice in the water and all the ice in the water melts, will our sea level increase?
Okay. I'm going to, because, well, no, because I think I know where he's going with this. So let's break this down here. Because typically when you see that, people will point to people who are opposed to the idea that the sea level melting and that will cause levels to rise will go, well, look, I have a glass here, ice in it, it melts, my levels don't rise. What they're not taking into effect is the fact that there is evaporation going on at the same time. And that evaporation is going into the atmosphere, blah, blah, blah. But in the world as a whole, we have a more closed system. That water is going somewhere when it evaporates. More likely it's going to be going back into rain, which is then going to fall down. And in theory, then yes, levels will rise.
That's considering the fact that all the evaporation will only take place and drop back down in the oceans. That's not considering where these new water clouds will travel and where they'll dump the water. Now, granted, all water ends up in lakes and oceans.
Yes. And it's wherever it evaporates and ends up, eventually it's going to fall and evaporate again, move on to the next system.
So
that's why I said, yes, eventually your levels will go up. That is, I don't think that would be
but not at a point to where it's going to be catastrophic.
Yes.
It's not going to change the way we live. People aren't going to have to move in
not immediately.
100 miles.
Not
inland.
immediately. It might, I will admit this, it very well could over time.
It could, but it's not going to do it to the point to where now everybody's living in the middle of the United States.
No,
Because
not the middle.
For those of you who may or may not know, when water freezes, unlike most liquids, it actually expands, and it expands about to 9. I'll make it a little bit more of a range, about 8 to 10% of its volume. So a 42-gallon bathtub of water, if you were to freeze it, will expand to about 46 gallons. So you have that weird thing that water does when it freezes. So that's where a lot of people will say, no, it won't. But Paul makes a valid point about evaporation.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, when we're talking about that, if we're looking at like the ice shelves in Antarctica and the North Pole and that, right? We're not just talking about ice that's wide. We're talking about ice that's tall too.
Oh yes.
So, you bring all that into consideration. It's like, yeah, I look at what's happening here in Lake Michigan, where we have record levels right now, and you're seeing erosion happening faster and faster along the shores, and people are losing or in threat of losing their houses.
Oh yes.
Now, at the same time, yes, I agree. You build a little too far close to the coast and things can happen.
As well as erosion is also just a natural state, which I'm surprised they haven't called in the Army Corps of Engineers to do something about it. Because they could do something about it. But I know there's money involved with that. But
we'll just have Aaron fund it.
But one of the other things
Okay.
that the teacher has brought to light, and there's more research I gotta do. So if there's like a podcast you guys want to do down the road, just let me know. And I'll do more research on it. I'll probably do some talking to him and stuff. He has his roommate from Madison was I can't even describe what he has a master's in, but his job was going around the country and do these checks on coal plants. And he had to check how well they were cleaning the air. And what they were finding is that the air coming into the coal plant, okay, which everybody pushes as these really dirty, this and that. They were finding that the air leaving the coal plant was actually cleaner than the air coming into the coal plant because of all the filtration systems that they have built into the system.
That I could see that, especially because,
and that's been a push from environmentalists.
Yeah,
so that is a good cause of that. Now, technically, one can usually describe that still mining for coal is bad for the Earth's surface because you're taking homes away from all sorts of wildlife. That's understood. But fossil fuel technology is not to the point to where it's something we need to change right away. If we can find, and there are more efficient ways out there, but going hybrid, going solar, and I got to do more research on this. And if this is sparking you guys to do research as you're listening, feel free. That's actually worse than fossil fuels. The chemicals that are inside these hybrid batteries are extremely toxic, extremely.
Well, and also very expensive, and they're based typically on lithium ion, for the hybrid type. Have you ever seen a lithium ion fire?
It's not.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm looking this up.
Lithium ion fires are not fun, and you can't put them out in the traditional sense.
Which is really interesting that we're still making a push for lithium ion, because lithium ion's been out there for 30, 40 years, and they haven't found a proper way to do it. When you put a lithium ion battery under extreme load, it gets extremely hot extremely quick, which causes it to start on fire.
Yeah.
And so, believe it or not, an airline manufacturer did that with some of them. And instead of converting the battery systems back to lead acid, which has been proven through aviation and around the world and anything else to be one of the most reliable sources of power because it wouldn't turn into flames, instead of doing that, they invested into making this sealed tight compartment to help keep these lithium ion batteries cool and keep them from pretty much burning the plane down, which makes no sense why they didn't just go back to lead acid.
I could see why they wouldn't, because just the way you have to recharge the batteries, because certain batteries like lead acid, nickel cadmium or whatever, NiCad batteries in the old days, if you didn't charge them properly, they died very quickly.
Yeah, that's
lithium ion is a lot more forgiving in the charging.
Yes.
So that's one of the reasons why. But yes, at the same time, like, remember Samsung, was it the Note 7 or 8 or whatever it was, where they were banned from planes because they were bursting into flames because of their batteries? My mom's laptop had a bulging battery.
Oh.
It was getting ready to burst into flames.
Oh.
You have this, and people aren't aware of this, that their laptops, their phones, their earpods are using lithium-ion batteries. You have a cascade failure in your earpods, you're going to have a very singed hairs in ear.
Ooh.
What?
Anything wireless these days that doesn't have to be plugged in for power, where you're not replacing the battery yourself, is more likely using lithium ion. Now, the safety rate is pretty good, but when they fail spectacularly.
They do a good job.
And you can't just use like a normal fire extinguisher to put it out.
So I was just about looking up, putting out those fires.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you kind of just got to let it burn. Yeah.
What?
Or you have a special fire extinguisher to put it out.
Wow.
It's bad. That's why you got to be very careful with that sort of stuff. And that's why my car has a higher insurance rate, because I have a big old lithium ion battery under my back passenger seat.
Which means if his car gets into an accident, the insurance company's paying out the rest.
Yeah. By the way, no one can sit in my back seat anyways, because your leg room would be like 2 inches.
This is true.
That's meant for like a kid seat for like a 1-year-old.
I have a Prius compact. Let that sink in. But yes, going back to Josh's thing, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. Like you kind of mentioned, like the windmill thing a little bit. You have to do yearly oil changes on windmills.
They're not the most efficient route to go. They are what I would call a politically, and I'm not against clean air. I mean, look at China, look at Russia. I mean, it's just nasty air you got to breathe in.
Can you see China and Russia from your backyard?
Yeah. So
no.
But you know what that's in reference to?
No, I don't actually.
Sarah Palin. She said when she was a VP, nominee, when they were running, she's like, I can see Russia from my backyard.
Oh, okay. How close do you live in there, honey?
She lived in Alaska.
Okay, that's fair.
But anyways, so people made fun of her for that. And so You're like, look at Russia, look at China. I was like, can you see that from your backyard? Josh Palin.
But in other words, America is, and big portion of Europe are doing excellent, beyond excellent at trying to achieve this zero emissions. So us trying to make it so that we're not putting contaminants in the air, or if we are, we're trying to make sure the air is cleaner than what it was when it was going in. You know, that's I'm not against it. I'm all for that. I am. But when we have this massive push and politicians use it as one of their sole key practices or key phrases to try to help swing voters, I mean, in reality, you know, this push that we have, it doesn't need to be done by us. We need to be pushing these other countries to do it, because the other countries, if
But
you
Josh,
go,
shouldn't we just lead by example and they will all follow suit?
that's not how it works.
I know, I was being
Yeah,
facetious.
yeah.
That's how people imagine it works.
Well, but what was it? The whole thing. China's not planning on doing anything until like 2040 or 2050 or something like that.
I don't know that one.
And by then, how much more? I mean, anyways, there are far better ways to do it.
Oh.
And the ways that politicians bring it to the table, it's not the best way. It's just a way to get you rattled in your seat.
Well, if they're not planning on doing anything until 2040, according to AOC and Greta, we only have 12 years. So
Live.
Till the Earth is.
Yeah, but apparently the Earth was supposed to be gone in 2012 and wasn't supposed to be gone in 2000.
2000.
Well, no, 2000.
End of the world.
2000 was the Y2K bug that everyone was freaked out about. That all the power was going to go out, and water, and your cars, and your anything electronic would stop functioning.
If anything, what we really have to worry about is the sun.
Yeah, it's going to be a little while
Which one?
still potentially. And
Our son.
You two are married and have a kid?
No.
Oh, you didn't
No.
see where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ah, man, I can't remember.
Where were you going with that?
The Son of God, man.
Oh,
He's
yes,
coming
yes.
back.
We have to be worried about that son. Yes.
Not worried about, but
We have to be well, I mean. it
So
should be level
what?
three.
So what Aaron's getting at is either the sun is going to explode or the sun is going to come back. Which one's going to happen first?
I wouldn't necessarily say this. The sun exploding. Our actual solar system sun exploding.
Yeah.
See, that would actually be kind of cool in a very weird way. You know, you're outside and all of a sudden you see the sun explode.
That
And
would
you're
be
like,
wild.
oh, we're about to die.
It's over. Isn't it like doesn't it take about 7 minutes from light from the sun to reach
7 to 8
Earth?
minutes. So I wonder how long it would take a shockwave.
Brick.
Wow.
Wait,
Hang on. Like
would that be
in a-
longer? Because
I don't know. It
It's not...
depends on the speed it's going, but I don't care right now on that. Do your research, Aaron. Find out. Because I want at the end of this episode, I want to know two things: how fast does a shockwave from exploding sun go, and did you ever drink Pepto Bismol?
I did not. On the second
I don't
one.
care about that now. I want to know.
Well,
at the
I
end.
told you what you want. How?
He's actually looking it up. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So, Brewer, the floor is still yours on politics.
kind of went off on a side tangent there.
Yeah, you went on.
What else is new?
Yeah. So, what else is new? Welcome back, Josh. Goodbye, Josh.
But no, we have a higher chance of dying from the sun than we do emissions on the planet. But
Environmentalism nowadays, unfortunately, is political.
it is. And, you know, I will say this. Me going to school again and hearing stuff about planes. Planes are very picky, for those of you who just may have asked that question. They are a lot more, I'm not going to say delicate. Planes are way better engineered than cars. Okay. But there are certain things on an aircraft that you have to take in consideration consistently versus a car. But some of the other things that we learn about with airplanes, for example, there are certain cities you don't fly over with an airplane because of all the corrosive eating materials that are actually coming out of these plants. Pennsylvania, certain places in Pennsylvania you don't fly over. Where's another one? It's on the East Coast. Virginia? No.
Okay, it's just
Anyways.
somewhere in the East Coast.
But there's certain places in the country you just don't.
Being out all of this now.
Anyways, there wasn't really a second question. It was more of a statement of I was surprised that you would go Biden, potentially.
No, Trump.
No.
Jorgensen.
No,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
you didn't even remember what he said.
No, I do remember
2
what I was
minutes
saying.
ago.
I
I
thought
like
when he was saying he was surprised, I could have sworn he said he would be surprised that I would consider Joe Jorgensen.
No,
No,
Joe
Joe Biden.
Jorgensen, I wasn't surprised about. I was
Oh,
surprised
Biden.
about you saying
Biden.
potentially Biden.
Okay.
Yeah, me
All right.
too.
That just was not something I would ever expect to see on the radar of Josh Brewer. Even though you are still labeled as Bernie Bro in my phone.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
my
awesome.
You are Josh Bernie Bro Brewer.
Bernie
Alrighty.
Bro Brewer. I like that.
So going back to the thing of you being surprised about me possibly considering Biden.
I'm not angry. I'm just surprised.
Oh yeah, you're surprised. It's just
I'm
that's
pissed.
partly because of my moral beliefs. That's how I've been raised. But we have to, when we vote, we have to approach it in a neutral point. We have to take things into consideration, and there are certain things that we should find that we think are, and like you guys said in your last podcast, we shouldn't allow ourselves to be a one-topic voter.
Yeah.
Because that is not fair, And the same podcast, like, how could you be a Christian and vote for this person? It's more of there are many issues, and the issues that we choose to be prioritized over, let's say, a main issue for Christians, which is abortion, although a lot of Christians are starting to embrace it, oddly enough.
Yeah, I know.
The
They call it a holy and righteous thing now. But anyways, go on.
The thing that if you look at Trump and you look at Joe, okay, Biden and Trump,
Yeah.
okay,
No.
Biden, Joe, however you want to phrase
Joe and Biden is the same.
Donald
person.
Biden and Joe Trump. Anyways, there are two different people.
Yeah.
One would say that Joe is a authentic guy. He's a personal guy. He's a social kind of guy. And other people would say Trump's a complete bully, which I will say Trump does have bully tactics.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I'm not disagreeing that at all. But one of the things I chose to do in this last debate is I chose to watch their reactions, and I chose to watch their body language. Okay. And it's funny because a day after I watched it, I stumbled upon the video by the FBI agent who used to catch spies as a living. There are certain things, when you're in an interview, how they use their hands,
Yep.
this and that. A lot of times when we see politicians on the stage, it's all acting out. It really is. The way they use their hands is the way that they target. For example, at the beginning of the debate, when Trump came in, he was clapping and stuff, and he started pointing randomly. He was saying that is something they would do to try to catch a picture. They don't point at people, because when you point one finger at somebody, what you're doing is you're like centering that person on the spot.
Right.
And as humans, we naturally don't find that, positively reinforcing. So that's
I
where you'll see
disagree.
politicians sit there and do the wrapping of the fingers and pointing of the thumb, because it's their way of saying this is a topic that we need to focus on. That's their way of saying importance. Or if they're pointing to the people in the audience, they'll have an open palm, and it'll tend to be kind of rotated. So it won't be, straight up and down. It'll be slightly open. So it's giving that more of a, like, you, Aaron, or you, the people, so they open it up. So it's not a point. They're not pointing at anybody, but they are pointing at people with their hands. That's why they'll have their hands open. Or you'll see people do Trump does it a lot, is what people would call the white power symbol.
Oh, the OK symbol.
The OK symbol. Now it's considered the white power symbol. That is a way that people will sit there and they'll go, this is something that is very specific, very important. Or another thing that I found out was interesting, if you watch their hands, if all their fingertips are together, and if they're bouncing them, that means
they're doing the Mr. Burns.
yes, they're confident.
Yeah.
That is a position of confidence. And now this isn't planned stuff. This is natural reaction. This is a thing of confidence.
Yeah.
Whereas if they sit there and they're kind of rubbing their hands, almost like they're washing their hands, but they're just kind of rubbing their hands, they're fidgeting.
Yeah.
That is a sign of not confident. That is a sign they don't like something, or they don't know how to properly respond. And then you also run into what I found interesting is he was saying, I didn't watch the whole video either, is the whole thing on if you take your finger and you were to rub in between your eyeball and the underneath your eyebrow, there's a nerve that runs there, and apparently that nerve helps to associate with calming of the body. And so if you see a politician mess up or get uncomfortable,
they might do that because what they're doing is consciously or subconsciously calming themselves down. Yeah, so there's a few other things. So I was watching how they were reacting. And one of the things I like about Joe is he smooths things over. So for what you would call foreign trade or foreign friends and stuff, he's not the kind of guy that's going to sit there and pull out his sledgehammer and go, this is how we're going to do it. So he can help to anything that Trump has kind of put a bitter taste in other countries' mouths, he can help smooth over. Something else about Biden is he has a history in politics. So he knows how to approach people. He knows how to approach people, politicians. He knows how to approach the media. But at the same time, I don't have too much that I'm fond of about him because I've uncovered more stuff. And whenever people go, they do the one reason I changed my vote, and they go, well, Trump's just a nasty guy. Have you heard how Biden talks about people? Biden's got over 40 years of saying stupid stuff.
Oh, trust
Trump
me.
has 4 years politically. Biden's have over 40. If you guys haven't, go and look up the interview on how he describes Barack Obama. He makes it sound like Barack Obama is the first and only intelligent black man to ever live in this country. The way he describes him. And he describes it in a way to where if you are a biased position, you would go, oh, no, he's just describing. But listen to how he describes it. He makes it sound like there's never been anybody more capable than Barack Obama. And it's just, it kind of took me by surprise. I'm like, this is the president of the United States he's talking about here.
Yeah.
And then you listen to how he talks to people that he gets into confrontations, even within the last year, how he talks about people or he talks to people when he gets in confrontations with them. He doesn't simmer it down like Barack would. He sits there and he stirs it up like Trump. So
he goes dog face pony soldier or
oh, you're fat. Let's get down and let's do some push-ups right now. Let's see who can do that.
Yeah, he's done that before.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, he went, okay, fat. And then challenged him to a push-up contest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like you can't sit there and you can't vote for the character, because I loved it when he said that in the debate. He goes, you guys know, and this is the other thing too, I'm gonna talk about in a second. He looks at the camera and he goes, you guys know my character. You know his character. I'm like, the same thing. He's just more outspoken about it.
Yeah. So before you go on, have you heard the corn pop story?
I may have, but it's not ringing a bell.
It's a Joe Biden thing. That was great. If you haven't listened to the corn pop story, go do it. Freedom Tunes did a animated version of it, where Joe Biden, essentially what he did, he was working like a lifeguard or something like that, and this isn't the same speech, by the way, where he talks about how his legs are hairy and kids love to touch his legs.
Oh dear.
It's in that same speech. But anyways, so like he was working as a lifeguard and he kicked someone out because they were doing something wrong or whatever. And the guy's like, oh, meet me outside by the parking lot. And the maintenance person was like, well, you can't just go out there empty handed. You need to take this chain and show him who's boss. And he goes out there with the chain and then he goes, I'm sorry for kicking you out, but blah, blah, blah. And the guy's name is called Corn Pop, is the guy that he was having I did a horrible rendition of the story. Go listen to it because it is entertaining.
Corn Pop story. Joe
Yes.
Biden. Okay.
Just don't listen to about the hairy leg and children touching his hairy leg.
So, yeah, that's the other thing that kind of weirds me out is how he talks about kids and also how he approaches women and he sniffs them. But I mean,
oh no,
he sniffed me.
He sniffs children too.
Yeah,
and he sniffed.
Yeah. Anyway, and now I understand that when Trump, the thing came out of the recording of
grab him by the boop.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I understand how that would sway some people, but let's face this, okay?
We don't have a photo of him doing it or video of him doing it.
Yes.
We have video and photo of Biden doing it multiple times over.
And when people sit there and they're like, okay, character matters to me. Okay, I understand that. I understand you want somebody to best represent the country. But let's face it, what is this country filled with? Okay, it's not filled with the most prettiest people. I will say, Barack Obama did a very good job at being smooth about his stuff. He did a very good job about being pleasant, about being calm. He did an fantastic job. Fantastic job. But the thing that worries me is when somebody is so smooth like that.
You're afraid
what
of a
else
smooth
is going
criminal?
On? What? You got to add that little smooth criminal.
I don't know about copyright stuff.
But
Oh,
anyways,
that's But no, I mean that's a fair point, and it's like, okay, so what are they doing in office that is questionable? And I mean, if you want to look at, and it takes a few years for the information and the data to hit the internet, and for all that to be collected, and so we'll sit there and we probably won't find anything about bad or good to the extent that we need to until 4 years from now
Well,
about Trump. But there are things coming
about
out.
Trump. Yeah.
There are things coming about the Obama administration that people are going, that went on,
Oh,
that
yeah.
happened.
Oh, yeah.
And when you have a president that smooths it over, and I'm not saying anything like that, but when he smooths it over, he has to be smoothing it over with everybody.
So here's the thing. Okay, now I'll admit this. This is the one thing that when I heard this made my opinion of Obama go down even more than it was. He has probably done the most drone strikes and kills of anyone.
Oh yeah,
and Trump has stopped a lot of that and greatly brought that number down. I was like, that's impressive. And then I'm like, great, Biden, potential for that again. But yeah,
how many Americans got killed by those drone strikes underneath the Obama administration? That's a question you got to ask. And then they try to cover it up. It's not unfortunately, this is a part of war and we accidentally killed an American. No, it's we didn't kill him. That never happened.
Yeah.
But there's proof that they did.
Yeah. And so since we recorded me and Aaron, the last episode where we talked about politics, there has been a lot that has come out of claims. I'll leave it at that, about the Biden family since then. So
yeah. And the fact that people are saying that the authenticity of this whistleblower is being proven true.
Well, not only that, multiple, like the CIA, FBI, and then there was some security company yesterday came out and authenticated the emails.
Yeah.
Which
that's not good.
So the big question, and this because everything hinges on this question: who is the big guy? In referencing those Biden emails.
Is it Obama or is it?
According to the person what was the former business partner? I can't remember his last name off the top of my head. According to him, the big guy is Biden, is Joe Biden. But again, these are things that, and I will admit, that was dirty politics, bringing that up. They have had this information for over a year. Waiting till October as an October surprise is dirty politics. I will say that.
By the Trump administration?
Yes.
I will agree. This
Giuliani has been sitting on this data for over a year.
So here's where it what bugs me is if Biden becomes president and he has done something. First off, I will say one thing that will sway my vote is any sort of evidence that you sell yourself out to another. So if I find out that Trump has sold himself out to several countries, okay, why should you be in power if you don't even care about the American people? And that's what I think a lot of people do. You got to realize is if the one thing that sways me to vote for Trump is the fact that he's, and some people, I understand you would disagree, but he's got a bully tendency, but in like a good way. Like he approaches these international foreign affair meetings and he walks in with a big stick, he slams it down, and then once it comes to a deal that he agrees upon, he's like, okay, good. All right, cool. So he leaves a better taste because he's trying to change something. He's trying to do something to better for the country. And to sit there and smooth it over all the time and be the big boys, that's like NATO. NATO is a huge thing. Every country is supposed to give about 2% of their GDP. We're giving more than 2%. He's getting countries to give more than 2%. This thing has been going on for years and people aren't stepping up. Why? Because nobody's out there trying to make sure and holding people accountable for it. And that's one of the things that sways me. Now, there are unfortunate things that follow that type of a personality. But to me personally, it's like we're in a position to where China is trying to take over NATO. They're trying to stick people in high positions in NATO. They're trying to spread their influence, okay? For those of you who don't know, the leader of China declared himself a leader for life 2 years ago. And for those of you who don't know your history, whenever there is one person in charge, it doesn't usually end well.
Doesn't usually end well. Never ends well.
Well, so far, North Korea, it's not, they haven't gone off the wall yet.
Yeah, but you have all those people. I actually find this interesting. People are actually upset at Trump because he has semi-friendly relationship with North Korea in helping normalize some of their political stuff and not go ballistic with missiles.
See, and then that's also another question is how do you determine? We don't know all the exchanges. We don't know all the conversations. We don't know all the dealings that have gone through between the United States government and North Korea. We don't know everything that had gone through the Obama administration. Trump claims that that is one of the biggest things that the Obama administration left for him was the volatility between the relationship of North Korea and America, and he's helped to smooth it out. And they asked him what the fact that they're still producing nukes and stuff. What are you
Well-
going to do? Ultimately, I hate to say this, guys, but this is in a neutral point that I'm saying is we can't control another country's
No, we can't.
ability to create nukes.
Nope, we
It's
can't.
technology that has been out there. It's technology that is going to be discovered by everybody. Do we want it in everybody's hands? No, especially if it messes with our security. Exactly. So what's the most that you can do? The most that you can do is try to put some sort of good terms on the table.
Yeah. And I find it funny that it's all the anti-Trumpers, who are protesting in the street and they're the ones going, we need to control the other countries. Then they get upset when Trump tries to help smooth things over.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
like-
it's a double standard that people have put forth.
And yet I haven't heard anything on some of my lefty friends about, the whole Middle East peace deals that have been going like gangbuster recently. What, he's up to 4 or 5 now that have normalized relationships
Yeah.
with Israel?
And that's the other thing too is people sit there and it's like at the beginning of Trump's administration, they painted him as such a horrible person, and I
Ye-
think people are
we
still
should
hanging
have
on.
we
to
should
that.
have already been in World War III. All the countries should hate us, and we should
Yeah.
all be dead.
But yet, people go, "Oh, he's destroyed the economy." Corvink, it destroyed the economy.
What destroyed the economy?
Corvink, that's what my teacher calls it. Corvink.
Okay,
So COVID destroyed.
I
that's-
know, but I'm like, I've never heard it called Corvink.
Oh, that's what the teacher calls it.
Gotcha. That sounds like what?
And it's for those of you who want a quick fact check, you can look it up because it was brought up in the debate, and I looked it up during the debate, and I confirmed it. And that's what I was doing the whole debate. I was watching their body language, and I was looking up. So if Trump said something, I know what he would say is false, and if Biden said something, I know what he would say is false. I actually, anyways, when I love it how the Democratic Party would criticize Trump for not being effective right away with the whole China thing. And part of me agrees with someone else that I've talked to. Trump shouldn't keep villainizing China for it. He should be focusing his resources and trying to make America look better than trying to villainize China for the whole quote. Because ultimately, China did not allow us in.
Yeah.
They had a disease outbreak, and we said we wanted to help. Partly because if it came to our shores, we didn't have to deal with it. But China said no. And when China said no, they apparently control it by halting the numbers all of a sudden one day. And then a few months later, when everybody else is struggling with it, they became the mass producers of medical supplies. Tell me how that's not a... So at the same time, when information came out, however early it did,
Yeah.
there was the effect of shutting off transportation to China. But at that point, it was already too late because if it became a hot spot in China, it was already somewhere else in the world. Period. That's just the nature of shipping. That's the nature of cargo travel and airline passenger travel. That's just the nature of it. So the Democrats downplayed the virus and they said, "Oh no, it's nothing to worry about. Don't shut down the country. You'd be horrible for shutting down the country." Fossey even said, "It's just something that is going to blow over real quickly." And then out of nowhere, it blows up. So politically and expertly, people were telling Trump not to worry. But then when the crap hits the fan, everybody blames Trump, even though they were the same people that told him not to worry.
It's just who do they
It's-
hate? They hate
Yeah,
Trump,
exact-
and so they're looking for any excuse, any reason to hate him even more.
But
and
see, that's what I don't understand about modern day politics is
you can't understand modern day politics.
I
That's the
know.
thing.
I mean, it's just it's what happened to the fact of, hey, our party has these ideas and mindset. Your party has those. But let's focus on now. It's all about the parties.
Yeah.
They don't care about us. They really don't, guys. If for those of you who don't think that's true, they don't care about us. Everything they do is a political act. It really is. And I'll bring this back to point. One of the things I found funny is if you were to take Trump out and put a career politician in place, the debate would probably have not gone over the way it did. The only reason why the debate went the way it did, and it looks like a reality TV show, is because Trump is in there and he doesn't have a filter. He doesn't have a career filter in place with politics. He doesn't.
Yeah.
If there's something that he doesn't like, he speaks on it. And that's good and bad. Okay. It's good because for other politicians, that throws them a curveball and they have to learn how to respond like that. And if you ever watch, Biden does a lot of squinting. Trump and Biden both lie repeatedly. They both lie repeatedly. You can't say one's more honest than the other one. In fact, I guess Biden was talking to Abraham Lincoln, actually. I
yes,
thought that was hilarious.
I know. Yeah.
And so at one point, they're talking about something. Biden looks to the camera, starts talking about American families that may have lost a loved one during COVID. Okay. And then the camera pans back to Trump. And Trump goes, "Oh, come on, Biden. That's just a political speech you just did. Come on, you can have a better response than that." What Biden was doing right there is he didn't have an accurate response. And when he looked at the camera, because he did it, Trump didn't do it. He was the only person that did it the whole speech. He did it about 4 times. When he looked at you and he gave you guys a speech, what he was doing is he was trying to emotionally connect with you and not actually give you solid information.
So now we got Brewer, the body language expert.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, it's.
I know.
It's there, regardless if you want to admit that it's true or not. He veered away from the question or the potential to respond, and he wanted to direct the American people, and he wanted to connect with them.
I just thought he was looking at a teleprompter.
That's very possible too, because as soon as he turned, he had a completely different speech every time.
I know.
So, but if you watch Biden, he does a lot of squinting. Like he doesn't especially when the whole Russian disinformation stuff got brought up by Trump. And Trump would be like, you gotta ask, So my issue with Biden, I'm not completely eliminating him because something could come out of Trump in the next few days that can make me question his ability to be president. Or Joe Jorgensen. I have a hard time putting someone in office that, to me, smooths it over and sells out himself to other countries. Yeah. Especially considering that, I'm not saying it's a major vote, but it's a key factor in the opinions of these guys and how China. And that's the other thing too. If you guys sit there and go, "Oh yeah, they're going to take care of it," no. When the moderator asks how they're going to take care of it, they need to give us an answer. They don't need to, "We're going to make them pay," or, "Oh no, we're going to make them pay for their crimes." No, it's like, what are you going to do? You going to enforce tariffs on them? You going to sit there and try to kick them out of NATO? What are you going to do? I want to know what you're going to do to protect us from China, not sit there and give me a little side speech that, "Oh, they're going to pay," And to me, if you don't see China as a threat, are you blind? Because they're obviously, they're technologically, they're in every single American's phones by now. And if they aren't right now, they have been.
I don't know if they've been in all the phones, but could they have the potential and ability to?
Absolutely.
Which is why a lot of stuff has been, I don't know, like Huawei. Huawei has been banned from selling and any sort of chips in the U.S.
Yeah,
because of the fact that they are beholden to the Chinese government.
And those of you who don't know, any company that has done business with the Chinese government has to fork over whatever the Chinese government asks for.
Yep.
Not many people know that. And so if you look at their aviation closely resembles Boeing, Airbus. They closely because we produce parts over there because of what we call rare earth materials that China mines and gathers. We produce pieces of our chipboard, pieces of this and that, and we bring the parts back over here and we assemble them. And any company that has any sort of business going over there, China is able to look through anything that pertains to what's being done over there. So China's been able to piece aircraft from parts that we produce for what? Our fighters, our drones. So we are literally just handing them information. They don't even have to come over here. They can steal it, but not even steal it because these companies signed a contract to allow them to do it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they are taking advantage of materials that they have available to them, which are these rare earth materials, which are found in abundance over there. So
yeah.
hopefully one day we'll find a big stash somewhere else. And then,
I heard that, is it Greenland? Yeah. Greenland, right? Or is it Iceland? What's the one that's only the East Coast is actually like inhabited because the rest of it's under ice? Greenland.
That'd be
Okay.
Greenland.
I think it's Greenland, they said, is the next possible large rare earth material site. And that's why countries have been trying to buy it from Denmark for years.
Well, let's get warming up that air so we can melt all that ice.
Yeah. And then we'll find the thing.
I will say another thing that does a tribute towards climate fluctuations, let's say.
Is Aaron eating bean burritos and farting?
Yes. But it's also our positioning of the globe and not like going around. But long story short, true north is directly up. Magnetic north is never up. So the
Right.
Earth actually wobbles. For those of you who don't know, it actually wobbles off of its axis. So it could be 23s off this year, and in 10 years, it could be less than 23. Let's say, I think they said the fluctuations about 5 to 6 degrees. But then you also have the sun and the different energy outputs that the sun has. There's a whole lot more that goes into it. But anyways, yes. So for those of you who don't know, it's not predictable to the point that we can tell you in 10 years we're going to be in another ice age. It could just happen.
Yeah, it could happen.
What?
But yeah, so one of the things when I was watching the debates and everything else Biden is, I will be honest, there are times when I go, what the heck did he just say? Because he will string words together that, or not words, sounds together. It sounds like,
Yeah.
if people go, oh, it's his stutter. It's a stutter. It's a stutter. Don't make fun of his stutter. This interview, December 8th, 2019, to Axios, they interviewed Biden. He goes, look, the mistakes I make are mistakes. And some people think I still stutter. I don't think myself that way.
He just denied any. So he's
He says
openly admitting
he doesn't still stutter.
that he says these things
Are mistakes, not stutters.
So he's admitting that he purposely doesn't say the right thing.
Well, no, he says they're verbal mistakes. Like he can't cognitively put together. They're not, because people will blame, his things as stutters and say, oh, he stuttered in the middle of his
he
phrase.
came out in an interview and said that it's actually a cognitive thing that he is old. He is old. If he gets elected, he'll be one of the oldest presidents.
No. Is he the oldest?
He'll be one of the, I don't know if he's going to be the
I
oldest.
can't remember who the oldest one was.
That interview was with Axios. And just before anyone goes, well, that's biased news. They got a 92.5 out of 100 on NewsGuard. So
That's true. Yeah.
and NewsGuard has been going more lefty, but if they're still giving that side a 92.5, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm up for that.
Something that also kind of, and we talked about it recently, just kind of jumping back to it. Something else that kind of struck a chord with me is as this information comes out, and even though it's wrong, because quite honestly, I would rather have this information about the Bidens come out months ago, because then we got
Days.
4 days to make our choice, and all this truth comes out.
Well, we don't know it's 100% truth yet. It's being investigated.
But that's the thing, is if he wins office and it's impeachable, it's even harder to impeach him at that point, especially if the Democrats hold the majority.
I know. So, yeah. So what I find interesting, about the whole emails from, all that. So the business partner he got a message from Democratic rep. Wow. So the partner's name is Tony Babulinski. Okay. Democratic Representative Ro Kahana told Babulinski he would protect him from being labeled as a partisan hack in the Democratic halls, essentially. And he's going on record with newspapers about saying this guy isn't doing this just for politics. He's legit. So if you have Democrats now getting in this guy's corner and saying,
Oh
we're
my
going to
gosh.
protect you, there might be a little bit of fire to this, but we'll have to wait to see what it is.
Oh, yes.
And there's a bunch of conspiracy theorists out there,
Of
and they're
course.
saying, oh, this is all just to make it so that after a day, Biden will resign and then Kamala becomes president. I've seen that one so many times.
You see the interview or the
Where-
response that Kamala's father had about her?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you gotta watch that. He rips his daughter a new one.
I've also seen the interview, though, where Biden goes, the Kamala presidency will be...
Which, you know, and you know, you talk to some people, they're like, oh, yeah, Biden's not going to survive. He's not going to be able to handle that stress. That's why he chose Kamala. And I'm like, at the same time, too, you ever have those, and I got to do more research into Kamala, too, because have you ever had those people you just get this weird vibe about?
Well, I mean, she's a DA, so...
But you know what I mean? It's just like I said, I got to do more. I got to understand where her position is on stuff, and there might not be much because she's currently in the shadow of Joe Biden.
Oh, there's enough. She was upset about COVID and releasing inmates from prisons because she was using them as free labor, and she was upset that the prisons were releasing prisoners because she was losing her labor. That tells me more right there that I need to know about her, about where her moral standing is.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Where she's looking at people not as people, but as labor,
as objects.
What does that remind me of?
Hitler?
No.
Well, I mean,
I'm thinking spirituals on the fields picking cotton.
Oh, that's a touchy subject right there.
I know, but that's what it reminds me of. She's upset that she lost her slave labor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that ultimately is what it is. They are either given the opportunity to do nothing or do labor.
Yeah.
And if they do labor, they get a little, but not enough to survive. They can't actually. Yeah, that's actually a very fair point. Yeah.
And so that right there tells me more than I need to know about her, that I can't trust her because she doesn't see people for the value of people. She sees value in what she can get out of people. She sees value in what is in it for her.
Yeah.
She sees everything else as pawns to be used for her games, her schemes, her whatever.
Yeah.
And at that point, I can go, I cannot ever put a check next to, and this is for me, and if you choose to vote for Biden, Harris, and this is for anyone, that's up to you. That I'm not turning around saying, here's your plantation, go to the South. I'm not telling you that. I'm just saying, for me, I cannot do, because the reality is, with how old Biden is, Kamala may end up as the president.
Oh yeah.
And here's the thing, like AOC and all that has already said, we are going to lobby Biden to do what we want. Warren said she wants to be Secretary of Finance or something like that. So I was like, no. For me, it comes down to the lesser of two evils.
I think what we also have to look at too, and a lot of people hate to say this, but a lot of people just don't have the brain capacity or the time. I'll say some people are just so darn busy or have so much going on in their life, they just don't have the time to comprehend everything. I think one of the things I've always thought about Trump, and for those of you that are listening, he's a Trump lover. I'm not a Trump lover, but I'm giving Trump a benefit of the doubt that the media has not done. Okay. And I'll do this for any president, just because if they're actually doing something for us and it's not being showed by the media, that is the media's fault for not representing the people. Because at that point, the president is representing the people. He's not representing himself. He's not representing his lobbyist. He's representing the people if he's actually doing something for us that's good. And if the media chooses not to represent that but find all the flaws in him, then they don't care about us at all. So I've always wondered if Trump knows more about what goes on behind the scenes of politics than he can actually safely say. And watching his reactions on the debate, seeing how he handles things, I think his bully attitude is his way of trying to control things he does not have backing on. And if you sit there and like his statement on the Proud Boys of stand by, stand ready, and stuff like that, I think he would go to that limit. Most presidents wouldn't go to that limit where they have the people sit there and correct me if I'm wrong, the Proud Boys are patriots.
For the most part, yeah.
Okay. Now, obviously, there's always extremists in every group. There always is.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, okay? Because they always go, Proud Boys, they're white supremacists, right? That's the thing I hear all the time.
They're not weird supremacists.
Well, here, let me ask you this. Then why is, was he Afro-Cuban? He's like the leader of the Proud Boys. He was just on Tim Pool's IRL site, podcast. He's like Afro-Cuban and he's the leader of the Proud Boys. And he goes on there, so the old days, so who founded the Proud Boys? Do you know that?
Nope.
Gavin McGinnis is the founder of the Proud Boys. Gavin McGinnis originally started out in the news era cycles of things. He founded Vice News. He founded Vice News, and then when they started kind of going lefty, he left. He's one of those little. He likes to cause commotion for causing commotion's sake, and then he founded Proud Boys. And to be fair, in the earlier days of Proud Boys, like in order to rank up in the Proud Boys, one of them was you had to get into a fist fight defending defending the Constitution or the American way of.
Which I wouldn't say is a good thing.
Well, that's what I said. To be fair, and they have kind of gone away from that at this point.
Yes,
but
but
that
at the
was
same time,
definitely
I
in
can
their
also
lyrics.
see it kind of being a thing of, if you actually say you're for the Constitution, you say, then physically show it. I see that.
Yeah, but
In a sense,
you
of
don't
like
need to get into a fist fight, okay?
no, you don't. And if you know your information, you know your facts, you can shut somebody down with the truth and
Yeah,
facts. You
well,
can. So you don't need to get into a fist fight. But
I don't think you've ever worked or dealt with very truly ignorant people. Let me introduce you to my family sometime. You will not be able to shut them up.
I know there are people in this world that you can tell them that the Earth is about to blow up. You have hundreds of documents proving it, and they can literally watch a volcano exploding off into the distance, and they will still go, the Earth is not going to end. I know there are those people that exist.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
But so the Proud Boy thing, because his choicing of stand by, that was a little weird. I will admit that Trump's choice.
It was weird.
But
it makes me question if his reliance, because he doesn't even have all the Republicans underneath his belt anymore.
no, he doesn't.
And it almost makes me wonder if
you have the Lincoln Project. What's the Lincoln Project?
I'm not familiar with that one.
The Lincoln Project is a group of ex-Republicans, and they call themselves ex-Republicans that are vehemently anti-Trump. Like, they are 100% anti-Trump. They're releasing political ads and all that. They call themselves the Lincoln Project. These are former Republicans. Notice I said former ex-Republicans, who are so anti-Trump they formed a political pack to go against Trump. Like, they just released a commercial recently. They tried to pull at people's heartstrings over COVID. Again, blaming Trump for COVID. It was called The Final Call. And it was, two sisters in their kitchen, older sisters, like in a kitchen on speakerphone. The nurse is going, your mother wants to say goodbye, trying to. Yeah, they're pulling at the heartstrings. They're pulling at emotions and not facts.
I will say
they're using emotions to persuade you to vote for not Trump.
I will say this. If you're a politician and you are using life and death for political gain, you are absolutely pathetic. I don't care how minor COVID is. If you are using it for political gain, you are pathetic. Because ultimately, how I'm going to look at it is, and this is the other thing I find interesting too, what has the Democratic Party done about the riots? And what have they done about COVID? They haven't taken funds. They haven't diverted funds. And this is like, well, Trump isn't in. I don't care. You want me to vote for you? You got to be the better of the two evils.
So Biden finally denounced rioting in Pennsylvania.
Finally, after how many months?
Yep. So because this is starting to go into a long episode, do have one final question for both of you. If there was a website that listed with a map with your address and pinpointed directly to your house with your names, your contact number, your social media profiles for the candidate that you donated money to. So not voted for, but donated money to.
Would you donate money?
Well, no. Would you be upset when that data comes out? Because here's the thing.
First off, I'm not taking my little newly purchased condo and I'm not putting it on the podium to be burned to the ground by these crazies. So I wouldn't.
Yeah, but if you donate money to the candidate, it just shows up there.
It should. Why not?
Well, let me tell you what. There's a website, a group of people that scoured all the FEC data. And if you ever donated a cent to Trump, you're put on a map with links to be shared out to all social media to shame you with your address and contact information. And I looked at it and I said, if people did that for Biden donors, there would be an uproar over putting people's lives at risk. But because it's for someone who is hated, aka Trump, it's not only tolerated, it's lauded as the best thing in the world because you can find out who your hateful neighbors are. And I put that in quotes. Hateful neighbors are that are by you.
Makes no sense. It's like not even hate. It's what's it called? We talked about it where you publicly erase somebody.
Cancel.
Yeah, it's cancel culture. It's just you're trying to get them to disappear at that point. You're trying to take one thing that they've done and make it so everything else in their life is now invalidated because of that one thing they did.
Yep. You're putting them on the map and saying, these are people that I don't like. Yeah. And unfortunately,
I'm almost and one could say this is just a brain thought, okay? The last thing I'm gonna say, I think how it should be is it'd be the political run to being president is all about money. That's why you barely see anything with Joe Jorgensen. They don't have the funds like the Republican and Democratic Party have to sit there, travel like 3 cities in every state over the course of 2 years. They don't have the ability to fund every single YouTube ad that you sit there and you watch a video on. Watching a video on puppies, Joe Biden or Trump comes up, you know?
Mhm.
You don't have the funds to do that if you're a third party or a fourth party. I almost would want to say that, and you can easily come back and say, but it's almost like I'm trying to I'm like trying to make like this fairness thing here. So it's almost like, what if there's a pot that went in? Okay, there was a pot. So that, if you were going to run, you would have to pre-plan 4 years ahead. Okay, if you were going to run, to make it so that you couldn't jump in last minute just to get money. It'd have to be something you were going to be doing from the end, and you're going to try to win it to the end. So everybody that donates something, it has to be donated to this black pot, let's say, this silver pot, whatever you want to call it. And this pot would be evenly distributed so that every representing party had a limit. So they sit there and let's say they want to travel all 50
so
states.
essentially what you want is some
regulation
that want a
prevents-
reform of it.
Yes, it's a reform, but not a reform that gives a certain pre-existing party or a pre-existing part of the government that could be biased control. That's what I don't want. But somebody has to monitor it, and whoever monitors it cannot be biased because then they can slip underneath the table. But then at the same time, too, it also allows us to see that, hey, if somebody else is suddenly having more funding, that funding, and they go, oh, it's coming from my pockets. No, somebody's putting it in your pockets. They're buying, they're paying for your election. So then it'll probably be easier to see lobbyists going. I don't know. It's just a quick thought that I had, and it'd be interesting to see if anything could become of it. Now, obviously, both parties would be against it because let's say you're limited to $100 million. You got to figure out how to spread $100 million over ads, over news, over traveling. It makes it harder. And to me, I almost feel like it would be more substantial. You have to take every single second you have in front of the camera or every single commercial you make. You have to make it all that more better. You have to make it all that more substantial, But,
So interestingly enough, that website, it used to be called DonaldTrump.watch.
Oh boy.
Has gone away. Is now replaced by Donor.watch, a different website completely. At least this one now, you can look at all parties.
Ah.
So they must have gotten a lot of flack.
Yeah, they must have. That or there must have been some sort of.
So, but
lawsuit.
this is the same group that in 2019 created a website called Racist Watch, which listed all of Donald Trump's supporters. So expect this to change again.
That's the other thing I just love. that's the other thing I love. People sit there and Trump has said some really stupid stuff. But when they first started labeling Trump, and this is what I found funny that got brought up in the debate, back in 2014, I shouldn't say, at the beginning of Trump's presidency, about a year in, they sat there and said, "Oh, look at what he's doing. He's deporting people, and these are these cages with these kids in it." And Trump sits there and goes, "Joe, you know better.
There's a reason
The
Obama was
Obama
called.
administration created these cages. This is a picture from 2014, and it's been proven."
I say, and if you doubt it, go to Snopes. There's a reason Obama was called deporter in chief.
Yes, but that's how they started the ball on saying he was racist, because he was deporting people out of the country. But Obama deported more people in 4 years than Trump did.
So
And when people sit there and go, "What has he done good for the country?" He's catching human traffickers. He's helping to find kids. He's trying to get people that were on a visa, that have an expired visa, are getting picked up and brought out, or getting their visas renewed. I will say Trump did not have a proper response to when the moderator asked, "What are you doing? Are you still keeping these kids separated from their parents?" He didn't answer at first, but the one response he did have, which is something that is 100% true, is that these gangs, coyotes and stuff, these parents will pay for their kids to get dropped off at the border. And at this point, we have kids that we have no... Uh-oh.
No. So this made me laugh because the coyote thing, and these people were being legitimate. They're going, how does an animal bring a kid across the border?
Oh.
And there were pictures of little babies riding
Right?
wild coyotes
Oh my
across the
gosh.
border.
Oh my gosh.
And they were serious. They weren't understanding what the phrase coyote meant. And then someone online was like, I am a child trafficking expert, and I've never heard the phrase coyote before. And I responded, I was
Bull.
like, I responded like, so you don't know the basics, 101 about child trafficking, and you call yourself a child trafficking expert. I was like, no, you do not know.
Bull. Bro, I heard about coyotes when I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah. Okay. We're in Wisconsin, and we know about coyotes.
Yeah. How do you not know about coyotes and you're a human trafficking expert?
You don't have an excuse.
No,
We're one of the furthest northern spots you can be away from the border, and we know what coyotes mean.
Now, is a coyote only a term for a...
It's like a hired person that helps you cross the border.
Is that only a term with not being racist, with Mexico? Or is that a universal term? Because I can see if you're a child trafficking expert, I'm giving this person benefit of the doubt, and you're focusing on a different part of the world, I can see that. But if you're physically living in the U.S. and you don't know what a coyote is, there's a problem.
And they're physically in the U.S.
Oh, jeez.
It does not... I don't know if it's used in our parts of the world. I'll admit that. But coyote, that concept is such a big integral part of this whole thing. It's why it's such an issue. So, yeah. When I heard that, I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, and Johnson's over here like, what?
I think Johnson's pooped out here.
Yeah. What was that, Johnson? You ain't sleepy. Why is Aaron sleepy? Yeah, so I just pulled this up on Twitter, and it's a little child with a sombrero, mind you, riding a coyote while it's running. It's photoshopped, obviously. But, I mean, could you be more stereotypical Mexican? This looks like a little gunman slinger, that you see in the stereotypical Mexican movies. That's what this child looks like. We're riding on a coyote.
They were racist for trying to make sure people here are here and people who aren't here get deported. Whoever created that should be labeled as racist. I know I'm racist, Aaron. I'm white.
Oh,
Correct.
we will get to that later. Not right
boy.
now. Because there's so much with that right now.
But
Oh,
I mean, just regards to the whole border thing. I'm not against people coming into the U.S., but I think it's you that said it in the last podcast. If somebody's coming up from South America and they're a refugee, is there really not another country they could stop at instead of going all the way up to America?
or they're flying over from Africa to South America and then up.
Yeah. That's what you were saying. Is there really not a country they can just stop at and live? It's like, I'm not against people coming in, but if you're going to come in, I will say our entry in this country has to be reformed, because I do think it's fair if the average American person could not pass a standard, if you, Aaron Johnson, who has been living here all your life, who has gone through American history classes and stuff like that, If you can't take the entrance exam to get into this country and pass, then we either need to up the standards of American teaching or we should lower the standards of entrance. Although I do understand the one mindset that people have. They say, if the people coming into America have a better understanding of America than the people who live in America, that's obviously embarrassing. But at the same time, it helps to separate people, and it helps to force the fact that the people coming in and living in America are going to be quality, or I shouldn't, they can bring more to the table by understanding and knowing how and being able to pass the test and stuff. But is it slow? From people that I've talked to that are not American or have family, I should say, that have family members that are not American, it is a challenge to get into this country. It is. And it takes a long time. I understand that. But there's a reason for that. And for those people who want to abandon that, anybody that comes into the country, this is what I have to say to you. House them. If you don't want any sort of vetting to happen, we should have vetting for criminals. Okay. Everybody has to go through that vet. Everybody. If you don't want that, then you need to house them. Then tell me how you feel about it. I'm not against people coming in, but we just can't have open borders. Not Germany. Europe, they're pretty much open borders because everybody is next to each other. Europe's standpoint is like us in Wisconsin having to deal with people in Illinois, Iowa, and Michigan, and Minnesota. That's Europe right there. But the difference is we're already one unified nation. Europe is trying to get to there. But anyways, we could probably keep going, but I think it's got plenty enough.
Any final comments or thoughts? Or
I have no final comments or thoughts. Just to, if you are still listening and you haven't clicked it off, as an American, it is our unfortunate right to have to vet through all of this information to find who we believe is going to be the best candidate to run the country for the next years. And it is a very valid point that we also need to be doing investigation, or I should say, researching of the vice presidents, considering that there are times that there could be a chance that the president or whoever is presiding over the country could not be able to do the job any longer. So it is our American right to vote. At the same time, we unfortunately have to do it through going through a jungle of information that is unfortunately skewed like no tomorrow.
Johnson, final comments, thoughts, Mr. Quiet Boy.
Not really. I hate this time.
This time that happens every 2 years.
2
President
years.
is every 4, but we always
Yeah.
have elections like every 2 years.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I roll my eyes when the presidential elections come around because I know some sort of curveball is going to get thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
Some truth or not truth.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. No.
Nothing else?
Man. One thing I was just talking with a buddy of mine I thought was funny. Why do we have two dudes in their 70s running for president?
Yeah. I also find it funny. Democrats are always like, minorities should rule everything, and they pick the oldest white.
Yeah, I know.
They get fined.
Granted, the only thing they got going for them is Harrison, the vice president. But it's like, man,
Why did they
you
run
should be
her as
retired by now.
president then?
Huh?
And they're
Because
always
they didn't vote for her
Yeah.
in the primaries.
exactly. So it's like
Yeah. So stupid. But yeah, I don't understand why somebody that would be in retiring age would be like, oh, let's lead the country. As who knows what is yet to come health-wise for all of them. Hopefully they make it. Hopefully it doesn't take them out. But I imagine there's got to be some kind of strain on them being that old.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And that's one thing that would make me nervous about Biden becoming president, because he already seems bad enough as it is.
I say just look at Barack Obama. Look at him first
He's-
4 years in.
Well, look at any president who's
that's
gone in
been
with
in.
non-gray hair.
Yeah, they all come out with it.
Then they all look like got like
Biden will
wrinkles
go
taken
in
off
with
an old person and slapped on a young person's body.
Biden will go in with gray hair and come out with
No hair.
no hair.
Well, there's the memes of if what's his name got it, Bernie, and it was showing him in his presidency like however many years, and he's just a skeleton. I'm like, oh dang. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was just, I don't know, annoying, because yeah, it's like Josh said, it is just all money that gets them to be where they're at pretty much for campaigning and all the ads and stuff like that. If someone young could afford it, then there'd probably be younger people in there.
I
Yeah.
mean, at the same time, too, like your hometown politicians and stuff, what do they have? They don't focus on money. They try to get to the bars or
I mean-
taverns, whatever you call them. They try to talk to people. They try to catch people at festivals, you know. I mean, there is some sort of, you know, advertising they do, but they're out there trying to talk to you more, specifically talk to you more.
Well, it's on a lower level.
Yes, it is, but it just shows that money shouldn't be the ultimate factor on your ability to.
Well, I'm just saying the money is the biggest thing to get them into where they're at too.
It is
Because if they have the funds to be able to pay for advertising and all the campaigning and stuff, then it's like then they'll have a better chance as someone who probably could be a lot better, but they just don't have the money to support themselves to get out. So I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of things that there's always something that needs changing.
So nothing else, Mr. Johnson?
Nah, man.
All right. So again, this is releasing on the 2nd, the day before election. So my advice, go out and vote. Vote for whoever you find fits best with the things that are important to you. And that's going to be different for everyone. You know, for Johnson, it's going to be who's going to give him the most money.
Yeah.
You know? For Brewer, it's going to be whatever. You know, there's a lot that was covered. You know, so go and vote for who you think is going to be the best. Vote for who you think is going to lead the country, you know, in as close a line as you think it can be done. And I'll say this, if you need a little bit of levity in this time, if you have not, go and watch the movie Idiocracy, because that is where our politics is headed, honestly. We're already at step 1 where we have the wrestler, aka Trump, in the presidency. Let's see here if we can give some more energy drinks to plants, because that's what the plants crave. If you've never seen,
I have not.
you need Mondo. It's what plants crave. So yes, make your voice heard. If you have not already voted, obviously, vote today. Vote Tuesday. Don't vote Wednesday because polls will be closed. Then you can't do anything about it. And if you do need to vote on Wednesday, go to Josh Brewer's house. I'm sure he'll take your vote. And then he'll show up on a Project Veritas video as voter harvesting. And then, the fun that will be had with that. Well, this was an interesting Monday episode, I will say that.